So now we're going to look at actual angle relationships that exist amongst angles. So first we're going to look at this graphic organizer right here because we're going to break apart what they all are. Okay, so we're going to start at the top and then we're going to work our way counterclockwise. Okay, so vertical angles are two angles across from each other on intersecting lines. So for example, let me actually draw me some vertical angles right there. Okay, so I'm going to, let's use this color. So let's say we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's what I'm going to call them. So vertical angles would be like angle 1 being congruent to angle 2. They're across from each other, right? And angle 3 being congruent to angle 4. Okay? They're always across from each other on intersecting lines. They're always congruent. Now the reason they're called vertical, if you can imagine, is this is the vertex. And they are directly across from each other through the vertex. Okay, so that helps you remember vertical a little bit better. So going counterclockwise, we're going to come over here to adjacent angles. Okay, so adjacent angles are two angles that are next to each other and share a common side. So for example, alright, so I got some drawn up there, so make my life easier. So adjacent angles, like right here, they share a common side. So this would be like angle 1, angle 2. Those are adjacent. And this is the side that they share. Alright, so now let's move down over here to complementary angles. Those are two angles whose sum is 90 degrees. So let's draw one of those. Here's an example of a complementary angle, the two angles whose sum is 90 degrees. So like this would be angle 1. Oops, let's not do that. This would be angle 1, this would be angle 2, they're 90 degrees. So you could say that angle 1 plus angle 2 is equal to 90 degrees. Right, next we have supplementary angles. And those are two angles whose sum is 180 degrees. So let me get that drawn. So here we have an example of supplementary angles. So this, for example, let's say that this was 135 degrees and that was 45 degrees, and then you would end up with 180 degrees. Okay, now how I remember the difference between complementary and supplementary. Supplementary is a little bit harder to necessarily remember. So to me, the biggest way or the easiest way to remember the difference is to remember what complementary angles are. Because then you know that one is 90, you know that one is 180. So if I know which one is 90, I'm able to figure out the other one is 180. So I think of complementary, and I think of, this might be a silly way to remember, but it helps me. I think of compliments, and they are the right thing to do, to give a person a compliment. So complementary angles are the right thing to do, so they're 90 degrees. It might be a silly way, but it works. Now a linear pair, there are two angles that are adjacent and supplementary, and they form a straight line. So basically what I have down here, so I'm going to actually bring that up there as well. Okay, so this is a linear pair. So I would say 1, 2, and you could say angle 1 plus angle 2 is equal to 180 degrees. Now the difference between a linear pair and supplementary is that supplementary angles do not necessarily have to be attached. So, for example, this is our 135-degree angle. And then this would be, let me make this a little smaller so that you can see it. So here we have them separated. So this is still 135 degrees, and this is still 45 degrees. So in a supplementary angle, they don't actually have to be attached to each other. They don't even have to be near to each other. But if they equal 180 degrees when you add their angle measures together, they're supplementary. But a linear pair, what's up here, they have to be adjacent to each other and supplementary in order to be a linear pair. So now coming on down here, identifying the types of angles. Pause this and then see if you can identify the angle relationships that are taking place between these angles, and then we'll come back and see how you did. Alright, so now looking at 1, those are vertical angles. 2 are adjacent and complementary. 3, adjacent, supplementary, and a linear pair. Remember, a linear pair is a linear pair because it's adjacent and supplementary, so you can't leave those out. Number 4, those are just adjacent. Number 5, vertical and complementary. Look at that again if you didn't get the complementary. And 6 is vertical and supplementary. Look at that again if you didn't get supplementary. Now let's look at using these angle relationships to actually find angle measures, right? So for number 1, I'm just going to scroll through and we're going to look at these. And let me write down what we have. Okay, for number 1, these are vertical angles. Vertical angles are congruent. So that must also be 112 degrees. Number 2, these are complementary angles. Remember, complements are the right thing to do, 90 degrees. So just doing 90 minus 68 is going to give you x being 22 degrees. 3, those are supplementary angles. It's a linear pair as well. So because they're supplementary, they're 180 degrees, so 180 minus 124 gives you 56 degrees. Now when we start going further on, it's asking you to think a little bit more on what you're looking at, right? So let's look at number 5. We're going to skip number 4 and go to 5. Right? So first and foremost, you will notice this 90-degree angle there and this straight line. If this is 90 degrees, then this is 90 degrees. So Z is just going to be 90 minus 72, which is going to give you 18 degrees, right? And now if you look at Y, those are vertical, so Y is going to be 72 degrees. And now finally, the next one I notice is that X is vertical to Z plus the 90 degrees. So 90 plus 18 is 108 degrees. Okay, so hopefully you can see how we broke that down. So try 6 through 9 on your own and then check the key. So let's come down to using algebra. Let's do a couple of these together, set up a few, and then you can try the rest on your own and see how you do. It's all pretty much the same process, recognizing the angle relationships and using those angle relationships in order to write your equations from the expressions. So in 10, let's see if we're going to do this one or set this one up. Okay, I'm going to make that a little smaller. I'm looking at PQT versus SQR. Those are vertical angles. So because of that, I'm not going to do this one with you, but you can see that they're vertical, so you just have to set them equal to each other in order to solve, because vertical angles are congruent. Let's look at 11. It's telling me that AB is perpendicular to CD. That's the first thing it's saying. So when I go over here and I find AB and CD, I'm going to note that it's 90 degrees. Okay? And it's telling me that DCE gives me that value. And then it gives me ECB. So this one, this angle plus this angle are going to be equal to 90 degrees. Solve for that and then see what you get. 12. Let's look at 12. I hope we break these down. 12 gives me angle KNM. Let's see what that is. KNM. And M and J. So we have M and J. And we want to find the measure of K and M on this. Well, this angle plus this angle is equal to how many degrees? That's a linear pair, so they're equal to 180 degrees because it's supplementary. So I just have to add those together and set them equal to 180. Right. Now try 13 on your own. It's a little bit more of a challenge, and then see how you do. And let's see where else we got to go. Let's look. What else do I do? Well, 14, it's telling me that they're complementary. So if they're complementary, they're equal to 90 degrees. Add them together, set it equal to 90. 15 are supplementary. Add together, set equal to 180. Now these ones are the ones, again, that people have the most trouble with because it doesn't give you actual numbers. It's telling you something. So again, I asked myself, angle 1 and 2 form a linear pair. The measure of angle 2 is 6 more than twice the measure of angle 1. Find the measure of angle 2. I'm looking at number 16, if you forgot. I can't tell, right? First thing I asked myself is, what angle does it tell me nothing about? Okay. Well, it says the measure of angle 2 is 6 more than twice the measure of angle 1. Find measure of angle 2. It tells me nothing about the measure of angle 1. The measure of angle 1, that's your x value. Okay, so that's where you're starting. And the measure of angle 2, it says it is 6 more than twice the measure. So I have 6 more than twice the measure. So twice the measure would be 2x, right? And then if I have 6 more, I'm going to add 6 to that. And it's a linear pair, so I'm going to add those together and set them equal to 180. So in 17, let's look at 17. J and K are complementary. Which one does it tell me nothing about? It tells me absolutely nothing about the measure of angle K. So the measure of angle K is your x. And then the measure of angle J is 18 less than the measure of angle K. And when something is 18 less, if I say I have 18 less than you don't do 18 minus whatever you have. No, you take whatever you have and you subtract 18 from it. So x minus 18. They're complementary. Complements are the right thing to do. Right angle. So add those together, set them equal to 90, and then solve. And you can check the key when you're done. So now these ones are using angle bisectors. So let's look at 18. UW is bisecting. So if this is bisecting that, it means that this angle is congruent to this angle. And let me make that. Right? And if they're congruent, then I just have to set them equal to each other. Let's see if that's what it's asking me. It's giving me TUW, and it's giving me WUV. Just set those equal to each other and solve for x. And let's see, not too much different over here, right? For 19 and 20, so try those on your own and then check the key to see how you did.